Your snake plant hasn't grown a new leaf in 2 years, and it is not because you did something wrong. It is because you did something too well. It's February. The plant sits on the sill of a north-facing kitchen window, the same $14 plant you carried home from the garden center in the spring of 2022. Same 6 leaves, same height. It hasn't died, which is the part that confuses you. Lift the pot. It's light, too light for 4 years of soil. Tip it out onto a sheet of newspaper, and the root ball doesn't hold its shape. It crumbles. There's a hollow pocket down the middle where the roots should have coiled around and gripped the wall. Put your finger in the bottom 2 inches. That soil is cooler than the top and darker, and it has been that way since November. Now look at the newest leaf, the one standing dead center. It isn't shorter than the ones beside it. It's narrower. That's the tell nobody teaches you. And 3 or 4 white roots have turned around and grown upward, toward the surface, away from the bottom of the pot. That plant is not dying, it's holding its breath. Here's what you were told once by a friend or a store clerk or a little plastic tag stuck in the soil. Snake plants thrive on neglect. You heard it. You never learned why anyone says it. So your method isn't knowledge, it's confident guessing. You water less, nothing happens. You water even less, still nothing. And you decide it must just be a slow plant. That advice survives because it can never fail. A snake plant that isn't growing looks exactly like a snake plant that's fine. Meanwhile, the garden center sells you a $9 bag of cactus mix that's mostly bark and peat, a $25 moisture meter that reads the top 3 inches, which are the 3 inches that don't matter, an $18 bottle of houseplant food you never open because they told you this plant doesn't need feeding, and eventually another $14 plant. $60 and 6 years to arrive back where you started. Now sit with this. A snake plant's roots don't grow when the soil is dry. They also don't grow when it's wet. They grow in a narrow window between the two, and that window doesn't close at a moisture level. It closes at a temperature. Most snake plants in American homes spend most of the year below the temperature their roots need in order to divide it all. Your plant isn't thirsty. It isn't drowning. It's cold. And it's cold in the one place you have never once put your hand. I'm Eleanor. I spent a little over 40 years growing plants for a living, most of that running a greenhouse, which mostly means I got paid to watch things fail slowly and figure out why. But I didn't learn this from a textbook. I learned it from Ruth Dennard, who ran the propagation house the spring I turned 23 and knew nothing. Ruth kept a soil thermometer in her apron pocket. Not a moisture meter, a thermometer. She told me once, water is a question, and temperature is the answer. It took me 10 years to understand what she meant. So here's what I'm going to give you. 3 tests you can run in the next 10 minutes with things already sitting in your kitchen, and 4 fixes, none of which require a new plant, and one of which is free. But carry this out with you. The advice that broke your snake plant was never wrong. Thrive on neglect is true. It's just that neglect was never about the water. Everyone who repeats that sentence is repeating the easy half of it. Before I show you the tests, you need to know what this plant actually is, because almost everything you've been told about it starts from the wrong idea. Its proper name is Dracaena trifasciata. It used to be called Sansevieria, and the tag on your pot probably still says that. It comes from dry tropical West Africa. Nigeria, Congo. Rocky ground, thin soil, very little rain. Now read that again. Dry tropical, not desert. Those are not the same place, and the difference is the whole video. A desert swings, blazing by day, near freezing at night. A dry tropical hillside doesn't. The rain is scarce, but the nights stay warm. Where this plant evolved, the ground almost never drops below the mid-60s. One more thing, this plant breathes at night. It seals its pores shut all day to hold onto water and opens them after dark. Hold on to that. Everyone treats it like a cactus. It isn't one. It's a warm climate plant that happens to be very good at going thirsty. A snake plant's roots essentially stop dividing once the soil drops below about 60 degrees. Not the air, the soil. Below that line, the plant doesn't die and doesn't suffer. It idles. It keeps the leaves it already has and spends nothing on new ones. And here is where the mistake lives. Your room is 70 degrees. You've checked the thermostat. But the soil inside a terracotta or unglazed ceramic pot sits 5 to 9 degrees below the air around it, because moisture evaporating through the clay wall pulls heat out. Same reason a clay water jug stays cool on a hot day. Put that pot on a tile floor, or stone, or concrete, and it loses more heat straight down through the bottom. Set it on a winter windowsill, and it sits in a pocket of cold air that pools against the glass all night. Add it up. 70 in the room, 62 in the middle of the pot, 58 at the bottom, which is exactly where the working roots live. Go back to what you found when you tipped that plant out. The bottom 2 inches were cool and dark and had been since November. Now you know why. Cold soil doesn't dry because cold roots aren't drinking. You put your finger in, felt damp, remembered somebody saying snake plants hate wet feet and cut back the watering. You punish the plant for a condition you created. That narrow center leaf? A plant with enough energy to start a leaf, but not enough to finish one. It's rationing. Most people see a new leaf and call it growth. It's a distress signal. And the roots turning around and growing upward? Roots move toward warmth the way a leaf moves toward light. If yours are climbing toward the surface, they are telling you precisely where the cold is. You just needed someone to translate. Roof's line makes sense now. Water is a question. If the roots are too cold to answer it, you're talking to a closed door. So let's find out. 3 tests, 10 minutes. The first one is the only one that truly matters. Get a probe thermometer. A meat thermometer from the kitchen drawer works. A $6 aquarium thermometer works. Push it 2/3 of the way down into the pot, close to the wall, not the middle. Wait 15 minutes. Read it in the early morning, not the afternoon. Morning is the floor, and the floor is what limits growth. Under 60 degrees, and this video is your answer. Over 65, and keep watching, but your problem is somewhere else. Second test. Water the plant thoroughly. Wait 4 days. Lift the pot. A plant with working roots will feel noticeably lighter by day 4. If it weighs the same as it did on day 1, water isn't leaving. Nothing down there is drinking. Third test. Find that newest center leaf. Compare its width at the base against the leaf beside it. Narrower means rationing. Same width means the plant is fine and simply slow, which snake plants genuinely are. This is the only test that tells you about the last 6 months instead of this morning. Now the fixes. Cheapest first. Get it off the floor. This is free, and you can do it before this video ends. A cold floor is a heat sink working around the clock. Slide a cork trivet under the pot, a folded towel, a scrap of wood, an upturned saucer, anything that breaks the contact. 3 to 5 degrees at the root zone. That is often the entire difference between idle and growing. Second, move it off the windowsill, back away from the glass. A snake plant tolerates dim light extraordinarily well. It tolerates cold roots very poorly. 3 feet back into a warm room beats a bright, chilly sill every month from October to April. Light is what you can afford to compromise. Warmth is not. Third, change the pot, not the soil. Under $10. Terracotta is what everyone recommends, and it is the wrong choice in a cool house, for exactly the reason I explained. Glazed ceramic or plain plastic holds several degrees more, and goes smaller than feels right. A snake plant in an oversized pot has a small root ball surrounded by a great mass of cold, damp, unclaimed soil that it can neither warm nor dry. Snug pot, drainage hole, that's all. Fourth, bottom heat, about $17 once, a seedling heat mat. the same equipment sitting under every propagation bench in the country, including the one Ruth ran. Slide it under the pot from April through September. Aim for 70 to 75 at the root zone. Turn it off in winter. Don't fight the rest. You are not trying to force this plant to grow year-round. You are making sure it can grow during the months it wants to, which changes how you water forever. Throw away the calendar. Every 2 weeks, once a month, none of it means anything. Water by temperature. Above 65, water when the pot goes light, which in summer is every 10 days or so. Below 60, water sparingly, maybe every 6 weeks. Not because this plant loves drought, because it isn't drinking. And understand this, rot is not caused by water. Rot is caused by water and cold together. Every rotted snake plant I have ever pulled out of a pot rotted in a cold room in January, never a warm one in July, which is the whole myth, finally standing upright. The neglect that helps a snake plant is winter neglect. In summer, in warm soil, this plant will drink more and eat more than anyone ever told you, and it will pay you back in leaves. Feed it at half strength and only when the root zone is above 65. Feeding cold roots does nothing but pack the soil with salt. So why has nobody told you this? Every commercial greenhouse in America runs bottom heat. It isn't obscure. It's the first thing you learn. But no garden center sells you a $17 heat mat because it doesn't look like houseplant equipment. It lives 6 aisles over in a plain box with the seed trays. What looks like houseplant equipment is the moisture meter, the bagged mix, the bottle of food. Every one of them about water, not one of them about warmth. And Thrive on Neglect survives because it costs the seller nothing and can never be proven wrong. That's not a conspiracy. There's no villain. A system that earns nothing from you knowing has no reason to teach you. Ruth taught me for free, out of her apron pocket, because that's how it used to travel, person to person. The mat has been on the shelf the whole time, 6 aisles over. So here's what I want from you this week. Tomorrow morning, before the coffee, push a thermometer into that pot and read it. Then slide something under the plant to get it off the floor. 2 things, 10 minutes, not $1. Then wait for April and watch what a warm root does. If this changed the way you look at that plant in the corner, subscribe. I put one of these out every week, and next Tuesday, I'll show you how to tell a pothos that's growing from a pothos that's only getting longer. Different plant, same shape of problem. And tell me in the comments what your thermometer read. I want to know how many of you are sitting at 58 degrees and never knew it. I read every single